even food that's not on the counter yet. So if you finish your plate, you're still hungry, please help yourself to seconds, thirds, more cookies, whatever. It is going to stay over there, so y'all help yourselves and make yourself at home. If you have not signed in to our sign-in sheet, just make sure you do that at some point tonight before you leave. And we also have a basket over there for door prizes. I personally have no idea what the door prizes are. I just trust that Rachel picked out some really great things, because you know she's our prize patrol at CASA, and so make sure you're entered into there. I'm also going to send around, just while we're talking, if y'all will just snake it around, a sign-up sheet for Friendsgiving. So I think y'all have probably received some sort of communication that we're doing our Friendsgiving on November 19th. This will be our only holiday party for the year. So we kind of always alternate between, are we doing Thanksgiving, are we doing Christmas, are we doing a combo, are we doing both? So this year we're only doing Friendsgiving. We won't have a Christmas get together after that. So we would love for y'all to join us for that potluck. This is your opportunity to RSVP, just so we know we have enough plates and seats for everyone that's coming. If you don't know what you're bringing, no big deal. I have no idea myself. So we just want to know at least names if you know that you are coming. It'll be at the office. Yes, I do have a pen. Okay, so with that, like I said, because me and Kat are switching, we kind of initially started to have like a welcome where everyone kind of chats a little bit before we get into the business, but I do want to give y'all a chance to finish eating, so we're going to jump right into some of the business pieces. And so my responsibility for tonight is to share just a little bit about what is happening in the big picture of CASA, the big picture of our CASA organization, and what's happening outside of our organization that is impacting how we are running within our organization. So I will say just initially that there is a lot happening outside of our organization that is trickling down into our organization. You guys have maybe seen, heard, and felt some of that. Little policy adjustments, little procedural adjustments, little moments where your supervisor may say something and you're like, oh, is that new? And they say, yeah, newish. We are doing the best we can as staff to both keep up with the directives that are coming to us from Texas CASA, National CASA, and the associated grants with Texas CASA, and give you the information that you need to know. But we're also doing our best to minimize the amount of information that we share with y'all as far as those changes, not in a secretive way, but in a, you're kind of on a need-to-know basis. Like, we don't want to overwhelm you with changes and new things that we kind of know about are happening from a statewide policy level, standards changing. And if you need to know it, we're letting you know in the simplest way that we can so that y'all just don't get bogged down with all of that. So first, I just want to mention within Texas CASA, so Texas CASA provides two of our three major grants that fund us in our organization. Those two grants are about 40% of our total budget for the year. So it's a pretty good chunk of money coming from Texas CASA. One of those grants is the Health and Human Services Commission grant, so it's a Texas state grant. And HHSC has, for whatever reason, Texas CASA is the reason, decided to take a really close look at the contract between HHSC and the state of Texas, and then all of the grant people underneath that grant. And that has resulted in, honestly, just a lot of administrative changes. HHSC is an administrative grant, and so it has put us in a position this past year to do a lot of administrative catch-up. There's new requirements on insurance for us, and so that's just, we handle our insurance, and that's a little thing we have to take care of. But that's also where the cybersecurity stuff came from last year, right about a year ago, where we kind of mandated everyone has to be using your CASA email address. We need to be really monitoring if we're sending secure content, not sending secure content unless we are marking it as secure. and encrypting those emails. That and a whole bunch of other paperwork. If you're going to document volunteer travel, it needs to go here. If you're going to document staff travel, it needs to go here in a different way, in a different place. And so we are sort of just trying to navigate how to meet the demands of HHSC without those things coming down to y'all. That has really meant that we have just taken some things off of that grant. So volunteer travel, for example, if it's not covered by the Texas Cost of Volunteer Travel grant, we are just paying that out of our general funds. Because we don't want to send you guys a whole packet of paperwork that you have to fill out in order for us to pay it through our grant funds. So anyway, all that is happening with HHSC, and just know that there's just a lot of administrative adjustments that are being made alongside policy adjustments that are coming from Texas CASA. Y'all also know that we are in the throes of the community-based care transition. For those of you, whatever that means, good or bad to some of you. For those of you that are in Trinity and San Jacinto counties, if you have a case in those counties or have in the last year, y'all are working with our community-based care provider, Texas Family Care Network, no longer working with DFPS caseworkers, but now working with TFCN caseworkers. That has been a mostly positive transition for us. I'm not going to say there haven't been any hiccups at all, but it's been a pretty decent transition so far. It is still a very young transition. I say that just to mention to you guys that if I'm talking to you, if you're one of the people assigned to cases in those counties, and you really disagree with the statement that I just made, that you're just like, I don't know what felt smooth to you, but it was not over here in my world and on my case. Please make sure that y'all are communicating those specifically to your staff supervisor or any member of staff. We are having quarterly meetings with Texas Family Care Network to make sure that they're meeting our expectations, that we're meeting their expectations, and making adjustments accordingly. So if you feel like there are things that are not going well, or y'all are already very good about talking to your supervisors, but if there's just like a pattern or a policy that's not working, that they're saying we can't do that because of our policy, communicate those to supervisors, because do keep in mind that our community-based care contractors have a little bit more wiggle room in policy and procedure and mandates than our DFPS staff. So they still have to uphold their contract with the state, but they do not have to follow the same rules as the state. And so if there are creative conversations we need to be having, we want to be having those conversations. As far as Walker County goes, they're behind. So Walker County was supposed to, I think either September 1st or October 1st, have selected and been preparing to announce who the contractor was for Region 6. So Region 6 is Harris County, and then the 12 counties that surround Harris County, from Walker County down to Galveston and Brazoria County, Waller, Colorado, Austin, Liberty, Chambers, all of those counties are part of Region 6. So all 13 of those counties are the ones that are currently looking for a community-based care provider. And again, we were supposed to have an update on that October 1st, and we have heard nothing. Like, it has been absolute silence as it relates to the Region 6 provider. So I really don't have, we can't guess what that means. It could mean that they're very close to finalizing negotiations and they just don't want to update us until they have a final answer for us, and that could be coming in 5 days, and it could be that they have absolutely no providers and they have no idea who the heck is going to provide these services, and they're at ground zero trying to figure out who that provider is. So as soon as we hear something for Walker County, we will let those of you that are impacted by that know. No matter what, it will be April at the earliest that Walker County will be managed, case management, by the new provider. So it's not like we're going to say, hey, there's a new contractor for Region 6, they're taking over our cases next month. Like, we should have really 6 months, between 4 and 9 months really, by the time they announce the contractor, before they start touching our cases really at all. So we'll keep you updated as to what happens there, but for now, Walker County is just gonna be sort of in a weird limbo, awaiting whatever is happening in the state office to award that contract to a provider. Okay, the last, I guess, big thing that I want to share about, I'm gonna send around this sort of data sheet for y'all to look at alongside me. The last big thing I want to talk about is our case load. It is no secret to, I would say, at least 50% of people in this room, if not 80 or 90 or 100%, that the new child removals for our 3-county area has declined significantly in the last year. We are, for the first time in my time at CASA, which I've been here for 9 years now, we are closing cases more rapidly than we are opening new cases. I'm not going to say it's a problem. I mean, can't stand up here and advocate for no child abuse and say, I'm really worried that we don't have more kids coming into our program. I'm a little worried that we don't have more kids coming into our program. I do not believe that something happened in the last 18 months and all of a sudden our state got it together and stopped abusing children and started taking care of their kids the way that they were supposed to be taking care of them all along. So I do think that there are, well, I know that there are systematic changes that have impacted removal sort of in a trickle effect. So they changed the guidelines of what constitutes a justified removal. They changed, like marijuana usage is no longer grounds for removing children from the home. That's grounds for like in-home services if they deem it necessary. There were a series of changes like that that are affecting removals of kids statewide. Like we are not the only ones experiencing this. This is happening everywhere in Texas. But I did want to show you just the real numbers of where we're at right now. Because especially those of you that are not assigned cases, that are like chomping at the bit, saying like, I just really want a case. And trust me, we really want to put you on a case. But as of October 15th, whenever I pulled this data, we have, since January 1st of this year, received 7 new cases and 18 kids, which is a third of where we were at this time last year, and what, like a fifth of where we were, 20% of where we were in like 2018 and 2019. So there is definitely like, I mean, almost a halt in the system for children coming into foster care. All that said, we have a lot of advocates right now that are not assigned to cases. If that's you, we're going to assign you as soon as we can. We're doing the best we can to keep y'all engaged and active with the program in all the ways we know how when you don't have a case assigned. We want to encourage y'all to jump in where you want, but there's no pressure to jump in. Like if you don't want to join us at Fair on the Square or come to in-services and things, as long as you're staying up to date on your in-service hours, like there's no expectation that you are volunteering with us in the meantime. But if you want to stay involved with the CASA program, we would love to have you guys serving in that way until we have a case to assign to you. We are not actively recruiting right now for new CASA advocates for the first time probably in the history of this program ever. We have 100% of our cases assigned to a CASA volunteer with I think 17 advocates that are available for assignment and not currently assigned to cases. So we're not recruiting. We do not have a training scheduled on the calendar right now because again, we want to get those of you that are not currently assigned to cases assigned to the case before we bring in more advocates behind y'all and just elevate that problem further. So we are watching our numbers as best we can. I mean, we're watching them very closely. We'll put a new training on the calendar. We're having conversations with our legislative advocacy team is kind of talking to our state and local representatives so they have a clear understanding of how their policy decisions are trickling down and impacting our program. Continuing conversations with Texas CASA. Rachel's been having some conversations about possibly us being appointed to some court-ordered service cases. I don't know if that's going to be a thing for our program specifically. There are some programs in the state that are providing court-ordered services, so families that the child is still in the home, but the court system is involved with the case. So it's almost like a monitored return from day one. So we are doing what we can to find ways to keep y'all engaged, keep y'all informed. But we are just in a really unusual place in the big statewide system. And like I said, it is happening everywhere in the state. I mean, in the state and even outside of the state. That I was talking to the Texarkana director last week, and she said that even their Arkansas cases have been sort of having the same effect. So I don't know can't tell you what's causing it. We can make a lot of guesses about it, but all we can do is ride the wave and do the very best we can to provide the very best advocacy that we have available to the kids that are here in our program. And thankfully having a lower caseload gives us even more opportunity to give y'all individualized attention for those of you that are assigned to cases, and then giving our kids and their respective families the attention that they deserve and should be receiving from us. Let me check my time. Okay, I have 3 minutes before I have to turn it over to Kat. I know that's sort of like a lot of big picture stuff. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts that they would like to share?
Do you think the decrease in cases is partly because of the transition from the CPS to the
To community-based care? No,
No?
because CPS still handles the entire investigative process.
Right.
So community-based care is the decision has already been made, whether or not a child is coming into foster care. That's where their role begins. So the investigative decisions, screenings, all of that is still happening at the state level. But I do think there have been changes, policy and procedure-wise, within DFPS investigations that is changing the way that they are investigating cases and what they're looking for.
Less removal.
Even the pot thing might make some difference.
The what?
The pot, the marijuana.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I just can't believe what you're saying. 13 years and I'm blown away that you've got 17 advocates sitting here with no children.
Agreed.
They're begging for people.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a definitely unusual swing even for us to navigate as a staff, that there's never ever been a time in our program where we have said, like, please come volunteer with us, not as a CASA, but do anything else and we will find a place for you. But that's sort of just where we're at right now, because we have too many CASAs to serve our kids, which is a blessing for our program. But it's also frustrating for those of you that want cases and we don't have a case to give you.
What about assigning 2 CASAs to the more complicated cases? 'Cause I wouldn't mind, I had a pretty significant case with placement, multiple placements, so if it would give somebody an opportunity, I wouldn't mind working with another CASA to handle my case.
Yeah, so that is something that's kind of come up as well, of assigning co-CASAs or even assigning unassigned CASAs sort of in a companion role, to where they don't necessarily have to testify in court, they're not writing court reports, but they're still able to be part of visits and communications with the family. If you're on a case and you're open to that, please let us know, because we also know that there is a careful sort of matching system. Like, if you don't want a co-CASA or a companion on your case with you, or you've been on your case for 5 years and have an incredible relationship, and a child would just turn upside down if someone else came on a visit with you, like, y'all have to help us gauge those relationships as well. So if you're on a case and you're open to that, let us know, and we can kind of help to navigate some pairings there. So I do think that is a potential intermediate solution to getting people involved with the kids.
Yeah, I think mine would work for that really well, because like I said, I have multiple placements, I have littles, so I don't think that they would really notice a big change in if somebody else came to visit.
Yeah.
So I'd be open to that for sure, to help somebody else get some that involvement.
Thank you. Okay, the last thing that I want to mention is at the very bottom of the paper that I gave you guys. At the very bottom is all of the staff's contact information. This is all of our cell phone numbers, so I just want to encourage y'all, if you don't have our cell phone numbers saved, please put them in your phone. Reach out to any staff about anything, anytime, whether it's case related. I know that recently there was like a case related issue where I think there was like Kat was trying to call Rachel, couldn't get Rachel, and was calling me, and we kind of had a few people calling around. So if you're in a situation where you like need Kat, but you can't get Kat, call Rachel, call me, like get the questions answered that you need to. And there's also just a few other things down here as reminders as to, because Rose's position was not filled because of the low caseload, and then Holly's position is in a weird place, being our training and outreach coordinator, not doing training or recruiting for training. We've shifted around some responsibilities, and so she is managing a lot of in-service logs. She's managing all of the advocates that are not assigned to cases, keeping in touch with you all. And so there's just kind of a guide down there of who's approving your training logs, who's the person to check out resources from the resource library. All that is in there. Like I said, we try to keep changes from impacting y'all as much as we can, but sometimes, you know, we just gotta roll with punches, and it is what it is. So, okay, well, thank y'all for your time. I'm gonna turn it over to Kat now.
Thank you. Well, thank y'all for coming to mandatory in-service. I wanted to say real quickly before I jump into my activity, or I will completely forget, I have brought some books with me. So for those of you that get by the office or by the school quickly, if you want to grab some books for your kids on your next visit, now's the opportunity to do that. There's some Halloween books and just a variety of different things up there. And I also wanted to very quickly give a quick shout out to Sonia Thomas over there. She is our October Advocate of the Month. And I don't know how many of y'all